Hey everybody, I'm Celina Pompeani. Hey Fred, look where we are. We are live here today at the Heinz History Center on the real-life set of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's hard to believe that 20 years ago, just 2 weeks prior to the 9/11 terrorist attacks, Fred Rogers sang his iconic song for his final episode of his show, which is just, the timing is crazy if you think about it. And still to this day, his lessons teach kids and adults so much all over the world. And he even teaches me and inspires me and reminds me to stay positive and to be kind to everybody. And that's why we're here today, Andy. Great to see you.
I'm so glad you're here in Fred Rogers' space at the History Center in our Special Collections Gallery. And there's nothing more special than the original sets from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
What's so interesting to me, Andy, is walking up to this set, it kind of looks like it could fall apart the way it's been made, but it has lasted for more than people originally thought it would.
You're absolutely right. Fred Rogers and the crew at WQED just kind of mashed this stuff together out of paper mache and baling wire and some chewing gum here and there. They figured, well, it only has to last maybe a season or two. But 33 years later, they were still using the original set where Fred walked in and changed his coat and put it in the closet. The castle of King Friday the 13th is right here. You can see it's a little bit saggy because, well, the paper mache is kind of settled, but King Friday the 13th is here. And the actual tree that X the Owl hooted from with Henrietta Pussycat. I mean, this great oak tree is here, and X the Owl would come right out of that door. And David Newell, Speedy Delivery, Mr. McFeely, told me a story about early on in the episodes. Speedy Delivery was supposed to ride around the backside of that tree and come out and hit his mark. Well, David couldn't ride a two-wheeler, and so he crashed into the arm of that tree. The arm broke off. Fred said, "Oh, pshaw," or something like that, and they had to repair the tree.
That.
But, you know, that's why Mr. McFeely has a trike, a three-wheeled bicycle.
He needed it. We
needed
couldn't trust him on anything else. Well, it's so many different facts and stories that you know that I didn't even realize, like X the Owl. There was a reason that he had that name.
X the Owl escaped from the Pittsburgh Zoo.
And that's a true story, right?
I'm not making this up. You know, there's some other stories that people might not know about Fred. He was colorblind, and he never knew what color his sweaters were. You know those famous cardigan sweaters?
Yeah, the red one always comes to mind.
Red and orange and mustard yellow. Well, his mother knitted those sweaters for him, and he never knew. He had to ask people, what color is this? And you know those iconic sneakers? Those Sperry sneakers?
Yes, he would always take his shoes off and put his sneakers on.
You know, that signaled to the kids that we're in a comfortable space. And this is the beginning of the show and the end of the show. It also helped him sneak around without making noise while he was working the puppets.
Well, Andy, you always have so much great information for us, and this exhibit right here is on the 4th floor of the Heinz History Center in the Strip District. It's always great to kind of relive those days of his iconic children's show because it teaches so many lessons to all of us.
My stress level always comes down as I enter Mr. Rogers' space.
I feel like it would have that kind of effect.
Me too, Heather and David. I said to Andy before, we need to incorporate a little bit of Fred Rogers in all of us every day.
Some good advice.
Very well said, Celina. Thank you, Celina and Andy. We appreciate it. And I've been there to that section of the Heinz History Center before. It really is neat because you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I've seen on TV.
Yeah, it's a cool place to visit.
Absolutely.